Okay, so here we are at last, and it's finally time for another video. Um, just a bunch of craziness happened, and I had so many plans for different video ideas um, after my last one, and I had so many review plans and one like this, ranking plans, and I had some other ones, and I'll work on them when time, allows. But with this virus, I hope everyone's doing okay. And I've just been really busy, and work just, got really real during this. And so I wasn't able to whip off these videos like I wanted to. Um, kind of a weird angle there. But yeah, so I thought this was one of the maybe top three ideas I was playing with, is doing a ranking video, and specifically the Matt Good band and Matt Good himself. Um, I thought it was smart to combine the solo project, solo career, not project, with the band stuff from the earlier years, because really at the heart of it, it's all, Matt Good, and it's all about his voice and his lyrics. Not to take away from the band at all, because they were one of the most amazing bands, Canadian bands. Actually, I would say they're one of the most amazing bands in rock, and it's too bad they didn't last longer. But and the timing is just impeccable, because I was working last night, but I didn't get to see it. But Matt Good did a live stream. That's how a lot of groups and artists are doing their concerts now during the pandemic. And also on a much sadder note is the bassist Rich Prisk passed away recently at 52, and last time I read, they still didn't know what the cause was, which is, but yeah, it's really sad. He was an amazing bass player, and it's weird because it's coming off of, the first bassist, Jeff Lloyd, I believe his name is. He passed away too, a couple years ago. Unfortunately, I'm not very good with dates and time. Uh, so anyway, let's get this ranking going, and hopefully I can do some more videos like this soon. As I said, I have tons of ideas ruminating in my brain, if that's the right word, percolating. Um, yeah, hopefully the lighting's okay. But again, I hope everyone out there is doing well. Um, it's just rough, crazy times in all respects, and I'm hoping we'll get through this one. Um, so yeah, let's start this one off. That was a good transition. So the coming in last place is Arrows of Desire, and this one was coming off of. I guess Matt Good was doing his White Light Rock and Roll Review album and tour, and that was a very kind of symphonic, complex work that I know he was very proud of, and for good reason. But when he got home again and started recording and thinking of his albums and that, he really wanted to do something, simpler, I guess, for lack of a better word. He wanted to rock again, I guess. And he was listening to a lot of Pixies, which, inspired him from the get-go, but he was coming back to his roots in that way, and yeah, so he was listening to a lot of Pixies and Afghan Wigs and stuff of that nature. And so even though I'm ranking this last, I gotta say, this is a pretty cool record. And his worst is, would be a lot of bands' best. That shows how good Matt Good is. Oh, messages. So, yeah, I think the biggest takeaway track is Arrows of Desire. when I saw him do that live, you know, it really kicked ass. And you know, there's some good songs on here. I feel like the choruses are a little weak on some of the tracks, not the title track. I really think the second side is a little more interesting than the first side. It had the single Had It Coming on it, which is probably his weakest single in my opinion, but it's not bad. It's just, I find the chorus is a little annoying, a little whiny, I guess. And songs like So Close, you know, they're good. It's very well produced, well engineered, but again, the chorus kind of lets it down a bit. But again, side B is a little stronger than side A, even though my favorite track is the first track. I think the first side isn't really that interesting. And even though it's my least favorite, I've always regretted not picking up a copy of the LP, because I have a ton of Matt Good LPs back there. But when I saw him live, the LP was like 30 bucks or so. And, you know, I spent so much money getting the tickets and going downtown and all that. And I thought, it's not really my favorite record. I'll get it later. And now, like, it's probably like 150 bucks or something like that. So that's the last place one. It's still good. Well, decent, I would say. It's my least favorite, but it's decent. It's like a nice, you know, 3 out of 5 or something like that. So, considering how much he's done, and, you know, it seems like something's always coming out every couple years, you know, he's got a wealth of material. That's pretty good. I mean, you know, there's no reason for me to constantly defend, but it's still pretty good. The second to last, whoops, as I drop it, is the I Miss New Wave EP, which I have the record of. I'm not going to be showing the records off because I can access all of them, as you can see, you'll be able to see later. But this one is just re-recordings of Beautiful Midnight tracks, which is the Matt Good Band's seminal 1999 record, CD, and how I discovered them, I would say, or at least how I fell in love with the band. So it's just 5 tracks. It always seemed odd to me he didn't, you know, do the whole thing. Maybe that isn't marketable, or you know, but like when he did it on his tour, he did play through the whole thing, and some songs were reworked and some were played kind of like how the band played them back in the day. It's you know, again, this is good. I actually quite like the re-recordings of I Miss New Wave and Suburbia, and the other 3 are pretty good too. But I don't know, I like the reworkings live a little better. The production is good, but it doesn't quite hold a candle to the original. Of course, he's still working with Warren Livesey, he's been working with that guy from Midnight Oil for a long time on, you know, all his records almost, barring a couple, and so it still sounds really good. The thing is, whenever artists re-record their stuff, it's never as essential as the original. I kind of get the feeling, you know, I get the concept, but, you know, it's good. It's just not as good. Next up, from the bottom here, it's White Light Rock and Roll Review. I guess that's going to come up backwards, isn't it? But, so yeah, it's his second solo record, and yeah, you got this one is kind of like Arrows of Desire. It's kind of like him rocking again after the big, you know, production of Avalanche, and how massive and ambitious that record was. This one has Alert Status Red on it, which is probably one of his biggest hits and most recognizable songs, and probably the last or second to last really big radio single from Matt Good. Oh my god, that scared me. My cat's in the he's out the door anyway. Yeah, there's some good stuff on this one too. Expats of the Blue Mountain Symphony Orchestra is really good. I really like Little Terror, especially the bridge section on that one. It's a lot of rockers. Blue Skies Over Badlands is really cool though. Kind of a little more proggy. Empty Road is kind of his take on country almost. Yeah, it's a cool record. It's probably some people's favorite. I don't know. Some people really like that era, which is cool. The newest one is next, Moving Walls. I'd like to get the LP of this, and even though this is low in the rankings, it would seem, this is a really cool record. Really don't like the album cover though. I don't know why not. And on this version, it's really dark. Like, I've seen other editions where it's not so dark, but I got mine off Amazon, and Matt Good is almost fading into the background there. I have to get a new camera so it doesn't reverse everything here, because that's a little distracting. So, you know, he's not a hitmaker anymore, but this has some great stuff off it. One of them, Years in a Momentary Truth. The first couple tracks are great. Radicals is amazing. The French song really grew on me. I didn't like it at all the first time I heard it, but it's actually a really good song. I'd say the weakest song is probably Selling You My Heart, which is the second single. It's pretty good, but it doesn't capture me like the rest of these tracks do. Beauty and Booby Trapped, those ones are really good. It's a really cool record, and some of the lyricisms off it kind of remind me more of like a Mark Kozelek record or something like that. That's probably a really lazy comparison, but that's just the feeling I got, and you know, as a fan of both, that's cool to me. And you know, coming off Fingerprints, I'm coming off the last record, and this late into his career, to have an album this great still is really special to me. And a lot of solo artists go on kind of cruise control or do the greatest hits tours, and you know, the fact he's so vital still, creatively, not commercially maybe, but creatively, and you know, the fans are still there. He's not going to be played on the radio as much anymore, but you know, that means a lot to me. You know, he's still out there trying, and oh, this one, because I have the LP, I've never, oh, I should be so ashamed, I've never opened up this copy before, because, I don't know, the LP sounds better, I guess, and I have it on my computer, too. This one I listened to a ton when it came out. It's, you know, I don't know if this should be ahead of Moving Walls or not, but it's Something Like a Storm from 2017. Decades was the single off this one. Bad Guys Win had a music video. I saw him on this tour. It was amazing. Yeah, so this one is kind of just him doing his thing. Like, I'd say he's on cruise control, but, you know, it's better than that. But it definitely just sounds like a Matt Good record. It's, you know, very unencumbered by, you know, a concept or anything like that. And every time I try to make videos, my cat's meowing. He's very vocal. Yeah, he's a rock and roll kitty. He always wants to talk about music too, I guess. Yeah, I think this one might be overshadowed by Moving Walls pretty soon, or you could even swap them out now. That's the thing with rankings, is that, especially if you like an artist this much, it changes so often. But, you know, I'd recommend this one, but I wouldn't say anyone start with it if they haven't heard Matt Good or haven't listened to one of his discs front to back. Yeah, okay, so I'm trying to think here. Oh yeah, so I was gonna put a note on this, but the next one, pretend I'm holding it. I have I guess a reissue which has this Loser Anthems and Lo-Fi B-Sides as a combo pack vinyl, and I was trying to dig through my stuff. You know, I don't have much time to make this video, and I couldn't find it anywhere, and which is frustrating to me because all my Matt Goods, are over there, so I don't know where this one went. But I have it's like lo-fi B-sides on one side and then loser anthems on the other, and you can reverse the cover. So I was going to show that, but yeah, I don't know where it is. So pretend I'm holding lo-fi B-sides, the LP. I'll get the CD one day if I find it, but I've been a Matt Good fan for 20 years. I've never seen it in the shops. I tried to get it off Discogs, and it was $100. It's only 3 songs, so maybe I'm ranking it a little too high, but as a collector, I would like to have it. And it's got Faded on it, which anyone who's a fan watching will know that one right away. That's, probably an early highlight. Like, it's a nice mellow track. It's kind of a dark, sort of depressing track in a way. It's very Matt Good, though. It's very dark. I Long to Be Dead and Swim with the Fishes Under the Sea. And so that actually, I don't know if it was a radio single or anything, but it got a lot of play on the radio, which is a testament to Matt Good's popularity at the time. And it's billed as Matt Good Band, but I believe it's just Matt Good, or it could be Matt Good and Dave Genn. I'm not sure, the guitarist for the Matt Good Band, who I haven't talked about yet because we haven't got to the Matt Good Band before now. But I would rank that the lowest of the MGB stuff. And, again, with the rankings, maybe this one should go after Moving Walls, not 2 spaces before, but rankings are hard, especially when you like stuff this much. So yeah, it's got that on it, and I'm deviating a bit. And then it's got a demo of Born to Kill, and it's also got Enjoy the Silence, which is a Depeche Mode cover, and I know Depeche Mode meant a lot to Matt Good and maybe the rest of the band. And it's actually a really good cover. I didn't like it as much when I was young because it was too different from the original or something. And but yeah, it's kind of like Depeche Mode with Underdogs production, like the Matt Good Band record Underdogs. It kind of sounds like that, and it's a good cover. One of the best Depeche Mode covers. I think the only one that would beat it is Failure's cover. The band Failure from LA did a cover of Enjoy the Silence around the same time. It was like 96, 97, and it came out on this compilation that you can't get anymore. So the band re-recorded it recently, and it sounded amazing still. I think Failure beat Matt Good on this one, but that's the interesting thing about covers and multiple versions of songs is, comparing them all. I think the original Depeche Mode version is probably still the best, but maybe the Failure one's my favorite. I don't know. Best versus favorite. That's always an interesting one, too. I teased this a couple minutes ago, but it's Loser Anthems, which was kind of rare when it came out. I found this years later in a pawn shop, and this has the distinction of being the most I've ever paid for a CD, especially such a short CD. This is an EP, and also the least, because I got it at a little shop, little local shop, for, I think it was like I think it was listed as $40, but, and I never do this, but I noticed it hadn't sold in about 6 months, and I said, I don't even know how I worded it, because I always get really embarrassed with this kind of stuff, but I said, could I maybe get like a little bit of money off, like $5 or something? So lame. And they said, okay. You're in here a lot, we'll give you a good deal. And then I found it like 6 months later for free, because another shop that didn't specialize in CDs thought it was a bootleg copy because there's no back, or no, it's because they looked at it and they said, oh, that CD's a bootleg, and because there's no label on it. Sorry, the sun's out. I'm blinding everyone. And I just kind of kept my mouth shut. I'm a really honest person, so if I said anything, he would have said, hey, wait a minute, okay, this is like $30. But he gave it to me for free with whatever, I was buying something else, I guess. And I'm like, sweet. And I actually gave it to a friend, but this one, because why would I have two copies of the same CD? I mean, I already have the LP too. Yeah, there's the number there. It's 6,595. I think the other one I had was like 8,000 or something. I think they only made 10,000 of these, I think, which seems like a lot for a band that's only big in Canada. But you have to remember that Matt Good was really, really huge at the time. And this one only ranks so high because, you know, it's the band at the height of their powers, and you know, Flashdance 2, I think, is one of their best songs. It's dark and twisted, but it's also kind of funny. The lyrics, like, you know, she takes her clothes off for the Japanese. I take my clothes off whenever it suits me. And just the typical self-deprecating choruses, barely living, but we're living large. Yeah, it's just a big muscly rocker, and there's the rest of the stuff, other than My Life as a Circus Clown, is quite introspective and kind of stripped away. Still very dark, but very different. It's a very, you know, bands often experiment on their EPs, and the material is very different from the albums, and this is definitely a testament to that. And for any non-fan, it would probably be a very frustrating release. But I don't know. It's just the time and place. Like, when this came out, that's when I was really becoming a huge fan, and you know, it just means a lot to me, and especially Flashdance too. It's a cool little EP, that's for sure. But I digress. I didn't do this on purpose, but it's 3 EPs in a row, and this one is that's all the amount of EPs that MGB put out. This is the first one, and probably the most focused. It's Raygun. Nothing on it I like quite as much as Flashdance 2, maybe. But it's a really solid, great little EP, and Raygun was actually quite a big song at the time. I remember it getting a lot of airplay in the 90s, and I mean, I was really young when this came out. I wasn't listening to the radio till a year later, and it was still getting airplay. And then, so it's got a Raygun on it, which is a really good driving rocker. Then it's got Generation X-Wing, which he still performed every once in a while, I think. Usually just acoustically, I think. And then Haven't Slept in Years. Interestingly, this is the radio version, because I remember getting the debut album, and of course Haven't Slept in Years is one of the 3 kind of hits off it. And kind of going, oh, this sounds different. It's a different version. And then when I got this, it's like, oh, this is the version that all the local radio is playing. And then just for, you know, shits and giggles, there's Alabama Motel Room again. And I don't think this is a different recording than the one off The Last of the Ghetto Astronauts. I almost forgot the name. One of my favorite bands, I almost forgot the name. And then So Long Mrs. Smith is just a 1.5 minute little acoustic ditty. Probably the least consequential one. I know some people that really like this track, though. And he did this, I've seen him acoustically a few times, and I think the 3rd time I saw him, he just did it as kind of a little transition thing, and a couple of people in the crowd went wild for it, which is cool, because people would have, you know, grown up with the Raygun EP, and, you know, before streaming, you know, you just put this on and listen to only 5 songs, so you get to know these songs well, you get to live inside these songs. Nice thing about this EP is there's, you know, pictures of the band and everything. Usually people don't go all out on the EP. There's Jeff. Rest in peace, Jeff. Jeff Lloyd, the first bassist for the band. He always looks so different than the rest of the band. Like, he's like a skater dude, and the rest of the band were like, well, I was gonna say intellectuals. They were intellectual looking. Yeah, you even get the lyrics and everything. For an EP, they actually tried with this one. Came out on Darktown Records, which is a little indie record label before Matt Good, you know, was onto the big time and got signed. Next up is Vancouver from 2009. And this album cycle is the only time I never saw Matt Good live since '07, I guess, or '06. He first did like a acoustic tour before Hospital Music, or during, and then 6 months later, so he came back with a rock band Hospital Music tour round 2. But then when this one came out, Stone Temple Pilots were playing in town, and I kind of thought to myself, ooh, like, Matt Good's my favorite and everything, or definitely one of them, top 5 or 10. But STP, I might never get the chance to see them again, and I'm so happy I made that decision, because I made a lot of bad rock show or concert decisions. And of course, Scott Weiland, passed away a few years later. So seeing them was great, but that's me going on a tangent again. This one has Last Parade off it, which is a really amazing song, probably one of his best solo songs. It's just the soaring song. It's very, cynical sounding. The whole album's very cynical. It's called Vancouver, but it's not a love letter to that city. It's kind of, this is right before the Olympics happened, and Matt Good's criticizing the city, and he really makes it sound like a dark kind of shithole place, and it does have that side to it. And he kind of grew up in a rough part of Van, or I guess it was more Coquitlam that he was from. This album, it's funny I rank it so high, because this album to me is mostly about the first 2 tracks and the last 2 tracks. But, the stuff in between, it's all good stuff, but really those are the, the 5-star tracks are the ones that really mean the most to me. So it's not quite as solid or consistent as a lot of the other ones I've listed before and coming up after. But just off the strength of those, and again, the rest is good stuff. Fought to Fight, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I love Last Parade. I think it's one of his best solo singles for sure. Probably only under Weapon for me. And that's saying a lot, because he has a lot of good solo singles, or solo songs in general. Just as good as The Boy Who Could Explode, which wasn't a single, of course. It's quite long. It kind of reminds me of Audio of Being era Matt Good. It's definitely got a muscle to it, and then the Vancouver National Anthem is anything but. No mayor would want that as their national anthem, but that's a great song. But yeah, it's not Rah Rah Vancouver, that's for sure. And then Empty's Theme Park is kind of in the same vein, conceptually. Musically, it's not as kind of crushing. It's a really good track, though. Maybe one of his best closers. But yeah, definitely recommended. Another good one. I mean, they're all good. They're all at least decent to absolutely amazing, which we'll get to soon, and this is definitely a step in that direction. So this is Chaotic Neutral, the newest one ranked the highest. No, it's not the newest one, but it's as new as we're getting with the top. What is it here? I guess this is going to be number 8, Chaotic Neutral. This is, one of my favorites. And I think when we saw him on this tour, it was probably the best I'd seen him, which is saying a lot, because every Matt Good show is something special, gives me chills, yada yada yada. This one had the single All You Sons and Daughters, and a few of these also were like streaming singles. It's kind of hard to say what's a single or not, and Wikipedia is never any help, because sometimes something will be listed and it's like, that wasn't a single, and then sometimes something will be listed and or it won't be listed, and it's like, well, what about that single? So All You Sons and Daughters is a really cool track. Definitely doesn't have hit written on it, but it's a really good opener. And then there's some kind of poppy fare here with Moment, Kid Down the Well, No Liars. Those are all good, but the rest of it is great. Like Harridan, amazing vocal performance. Tiger by the Tail's cool. there's a lot of kind of talk influence on these couple tracks. They're not kind of rock tracks. Girls in Black is amazing. Kind of sounds like an MGB song in a way. Cloud Busting is a Kate Bush cover. Holly McNarlin's on it, and she was also off that Loser Anthems record. She had a hit with Numb in the 90s, and her and Matt Good are friends, and her voice on Cloud Busting is amazing, and Matt Good does a really good job too, of course. Matt Good does a good job. He's so good. He's Matt Good. Cold Water is really cool. Army of Lions is one of his best rockers in the last 10 years or so. And Los Alamos is, I think it's one of Matt Good's favorite songs he's cut in the studio. And it's one of his favorites to play live, that's for sure. And one of the times we saw him live, they played it, and the drummer came out and he played guitar, and there was kind of smoke in the air everywhere. And it was like 3 guitarists and the bassist, because the drummer was on guitar, and just like a wall of sound. It was almost like a shoegaze show, like shoegazing, and it was really cool. It was very unique and very not what you'd expect at a rock show. And some people that probably know him for only a few songs were probably like, "What's going on here?" But that was definitely a highlight, I would say. A great record, yeah. Next up we have, I think I'm going to put this one next. Yeah, Hospital Music. So, this one means a lot to me because it came out, when I was starting to finally see live shows. I'd already been a fan of this guy for so many years, but I was finally kind of old enough and independent enough that I'd, go to the city to see a show or whatever, and I guess it was my 3rd show, but my second, big show, I guess, of a signed recording artist was during this tour. And this one means a lot to me, and it's a very mature record. It's not really the kind of record that a 17-year-old 18 would have been listening to normally, but it's got Born Losers, which might be his biggest solo hit nowadays. At the time it seemed like it was his 2nd or 3rd biggest, but now with streaming services and all these statistics, it's like, oh, Born Losers is big. And this one, he had a brush with death. He was not doing that well. The material is very kind of dark and very sad. Champions of Nothing is an amazing track. Everything on here just means a lot. It's a great record. It's got a Daniel Johnston cover at the end there, True Love Will Find You in the End, which a lot of artists have covered. Beck's done it, and a lot of other artists. He works with Ryan Dahl from Limb Lifter on this one, which is his friend, and they've worked together quite a bit. It's a cool record. I was really arguing with myself if I would include this one next, and I gotta reach over for this one. This one, which I guess is the only one other than that lo-fi B-sides that I don't have on CD, but Lights of Endangered Species. This is an incredible masterwork, and it's a very intricate record. It's a very, I think I said earlier, symphonic record. It's very, there's a symphony that plays on every one of these tracks, I think. Maybe not how it goes, but this is him showing his influences, his talk influences, and oh, my cat's screaming again. I feed him, I swear. He's just very vocal, but I do feed him. Every time I make a video, people are gonna be like, "Are you not feeding your cat? Why is he always barking?" But he barking, not meowing. But he just likes going around the house going meow. Yeah, so I know that he was really proud of it. It means a lot. It's a huge, masterwork. It wasn't going to have the hits. I think Zero Orchestra was probably the big hit off this one. But it wasn't it wasn't like he was having #1 rock singles or anything anymore. We got the lyrics and everything. Matt Good is usually good about that, is he'll include the lyrics, because a lot of artists don't anymore. Like, I don't think Radiohead ever put the lyrics in, and I'm always like, what's Tom saying? Like, I'm sure it's good. I gotta look it up. I don't know. Yeah, but this record just means so much. It's like I said, it's a masterwork. I think it's maybe the proudest he's been of a solo work, and for good reason. I think he said something like that. I don't know. Usually I paraphrase. Oh, staying there. Yeah, What If I Can't See the Stars, Mildred. Shallow's Low, which has, you can hear his daughter on that one. They sampled her voice, and it's in there. It's just a really ambitious record, non-populous. A lot of kind of longer tracks. But yeah, lots of symphony, complex musicianship. I'll have to get more into some of these sometime, because, I feel like I'm talking about them too quickly, but then I look at the time of the video and it's like, oh, I'm spending too much time on them. Next up is Underdogs, which was like their big, the debut did well and set records for independent music selling in Canada, I guess, but this was the huge breakthrough with Apparitions on it, and this was when they were starting to become huge on Much Music and known for their music videos, and I would hear them on the radio stations all the time. This came out in 1997. I started getting into music in 1998, and I would hear some of the songs from these, from this disc and the one before, but I didn't know, I knew songs and not bands, because I was so young, and then it wasn't until a year later where I started to, pick out, Our Lady Peace did that, or, I Mother Earth, Matt Good band, Moist, I started picking out, what bands did what, and knowing that I liked songs by those bands, and, kind of connecting the dots, and, these guys always stood out because they were so edgy. I was so young that sometimes I didn't know what exactly Matt Good was singing about, or just how cynical he was, but I could tell, like, there was a darkness, there was an edge, and, they had something that a lot of the other Canadian bands, or bands in general, didn't have. And Everything Is Automatic was a big one off this one. Amazing song. Apparitions. The other big singles were Indestructible. Love the bass off that, so shoutouts again to Jeff. Rest in power. And Rico, which caused some contention between the band and the fan base, because I don't think the band and Matt Good specifically really didn't like the song that much. But I think it's great. Primetime Deliverance has kind of lived on, because it wasn't a single or anything, but it's become somewhat of a fan favorite, and Matt Good, I've seen him do this one live quite a few times. It's definitely one of the most well-written songs. But Apparitions is just, like, incredible, and I think I said that Lights is probably the record he was most proud of, but I think that he said that he felt like he never topped Apparitions, or Apparitions was the high water mark. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but as a popular song like Apparitions is really incredible. It's amazingly well written, well paced. The amount of stuff they get out in that time is incredible. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of highlights off this one. The opener's great, Deep Six, Change of Seasons is amazing, Season rather. Yeah, and I would put Everything Is Automatic, Primetime Deliverance, Rico, Indestructible, those would all be up there. And then there's songs like Strangest One of All and Middle Class Gangsters and My Out of Style Is Coming Back, which are just, regular Matt Good, being sarcastic, and there's the band. I keep showing the young band, but I guess they didn't put themselves on the record covers, whereas a lot of the Matt Good records, he's on the cover. Next up is the debut, Last of the Ghetto Astronauts, and some people will find it weird to put this above Underdogs, but I think that this one's a little more consistent. It's definitely, the production is probably not as good. And of course Dave Genn wasn't the guitarist yet, so it's kind of got this thinner production to it, because Matt Good was doing the guitars, so it's a little more kind of jangly. This one, I think this one set a record at the time for being the biggest, like, Canadian indie album or something like that. I think it went gold or something, which was a really big deal at the time. And Dave Genn did play organ on this one, but he wasn't the guitarist yet, which is kind of ironic because of what a great guitarist he was. So yeah, it was just, you know, Matt Good with Ian Brown on drums and Jeff Lloyd, and then yeah, Dave Genn was kind of like this almost session musician, like he wasn't part of the band yet. So Alabama Motel Room was a big breakthrough for the band, and they kept that going with Symbolistic White Walls and Haven't Slept in Years. It just, all three amazing, incredible radio singles, you know, to debut that solidly, that classically. For Matt Good's voice and lyrics to sound that mature at how young he was, and also be that established of a musician for how late he started playing guitar and all that kind of stuff, like, I don't know, hats off to them, right? The non-album tracks, the non-singles are great too, especially She's Got a New Disguise. That one always stood out to me as being incredible. Fearless, which I saw him perform live a couple of years ago, and it was just a huge highlight. Yeah, and there's even a hidden track off this one after the war is over, and it's called Omissions of the Omen. And yeah, so that's why that one ranks so high for me, even though some people would maybe call it the black sheep. I don't know. I don't really know how this one stands up for a lot of fans. Maybe it's more classically regarded than I think. It definitely did well enough, but kind of got overshadowed by the couple after. But, you know, it still meant a lot to a lot of people, and it still got a lot of airplay and stuff like that. So, yeah, I guess we're into the top 3 now. I wasn't really numbering, like I said, number 8, and then I lost track of the numbers. This one is the debut of his solo stuff, so, you know, 8 or so years after the Matt Good band debut, and just a couple years after the last Matt Good band record, which we're gonna get to. Spoilers. It's Avalanche, and this came out when I was in high school, and I got it the day it came out, and I loved some of it, half of it, I would say, but I'm gonna say, like, I didn't really get the rest of it right off the bat, and it was almost a little too mature for me. Like, I kind of wanted just to rock out, so I would play tracks like Weapon and 21st Century Living and stuff over and over. And then, but the more I listened to it, the more I really dug it. And it didn't take long to become, like, maybe a favorite record of mine. You know, I would rank this one high. This means a lot to me. And I still kept this. You know, when I got this, I don't think our family had the internet yet, so I had no use for it. But I was just kept it in there anyway. It was you could put it in the code into your computer. It starts with Pledge of Allegiance, which is an amazing opener song. Weapon is just one of the most massive songs ever. I just gotta check my cat. Make sure he's okay. This is my life, is checking my cat, because he's so vocal. Poor little cat, right? Every video, though. Every video. Anyway. It's okay, Fleetwood. It's okay. Yeah. Non-cat people are going to be very, you know, very against my videos, because they all feature cat meows and cat tails, and so yeah, this one, The Weapon, like I said, is massive. It's just the soaring track, and just it's light versus dark, loud versus quiet, dynamics, just it's just incredible, and it's always a highlight when we see him. It's a 10 out of 10 track, but when he plays it live, it's just like an 11. Like, I've seen this one just shake a church, and just like, you know, it's just a highlight. I can't even put it into words. Like, it's just amazing. Hello. Do you like Matt Good too? I hope so, because I play him a lot. Yeah. And then In a World Called Catastrophe, that was a pretty big single. It actually even broke through the pop charts, which is pretty crazy. Which, you know, he couldn't do anymore. Unfortunately, once you reach a certain age, you know, you don't connect with the youth. It's a great track. The title track is amazing and very dark. And I have cat hair going up my nose. Don't touch your face, people. While We Were Hunting Rabbits is just an artistic achievement. There's not a bad song off this record. House of Smoke and Mirrors is tender to the point of heartbreaking. This one's kind of like Lights of Endangered Species in that there's a lot of symphony, like a lot of orchestration, and I think Vancouver Symphony is the one that plays on this rather. Oh, I can see myself in the album cover. That's freaky. And his singing is probably the best off this one. I think he was pretty unhealthy when the one before this was recorded. And, oh, hi there. And, his singing is just top-notch on this one. Oh, your hair's going up my nose, my boy. It's just an incredible achievement. What else can I say? I would just recommend this to everyone. Be cool down there, be cool. See, he's sweet for a couple minutes, and then he starts wanting to eat everything. I gave you lunch, but there you go, right? Okay, well, next up, and this is the first one I grabbed on its release day, because I became a fan during the Beautiful Midnight album cycle. But when this came out, I had to grab it. And I remember my best friend at the time, I guess this is middle school, couldn't understand why I had to go to HMV and get the one that had it was like the deluxe edition, but really all you got was a book of lyrics. And he's like, you could just print those off my computer. Like, again, our family didn't have the internet, but his did. Good boy. And yeah, he couldn't understand why I wanted to put out like $20 instead of like $11 to get the version that had, you know, the retrospective of lyrics. I cannot ignore a good cat attack. Oh, thank you for walking on the computer. That's a constant. Don't show the people your butt, though. That's not very nice. I'm just trying to get the lyrics out here. Okay. Be cool. Be cool. Yeah. Yeah, because you could get the lyrics for the whole MGB legacy in this little book. And yeah, that somehow costs, you know, a few dollars extra, but I just had to have it. Yeah, so Carmelina was the big single off this one. This is just Matt Good band and Matt Good at their darkest, and they already went so dark with Beautiful Midnight, but just the recording of this was so hellish to Matt Good and everyone involved. He was unwell, the band all hated each other, and do not walk on the keyboard, my friend. And yeah, it's an incredible album, and I think it was kind of a polarizing one. It's not commercial, the band didn't like it, Matt Good didn't like it, no one had fun recording it. They didn't properly tour it, because they'd pretty much broken up by the time it came out. In fact, the second video anti-pop. None of the band really appears in. Just Matt himself with his videographer. But yeah, I kind of like the darkness, and do not eat that plant. You cannot make a video with a cat like this. No, don't eat the plant, my friend. No. You'll be sick later. Yeah, advertising on police cars. Like, to me, everything off this is classic, but, you know, it might not be that way for everyone. I think the opener is one of the most incredible songs of all time. Tripoli is amazing. I always hear people yell that one out when I see them live. Yeah, it's just an incredible record. What else can I say? And that's why it ranks number 2. No, be good. Be good.
Can't believe that happened just after getting it off. So mad.
Oh, look what you've done.
The image uploaded, but when I switched...
He started up my live stream I was watching before I did all this. Alright. I guess he'd rather watch a live stream than talk about the Matt Good Band. I guess that can't be too impressive to cats. And then number 1, predictably, my number 1 pick for some bands isn't predictable, but for this one, I gotta say it kind of is Beautiful Midnight. It's the one that, you know, made me a fan. It's the one with, you know, some of the biggest material off it. It's got, you know, it's got the hits, it's got the darkness to it. It's incredible, right? Strange Days is probably one of the best Matt Good Band songs. Hello Time Bomb was one of their biggest hits, that and Apparitions, I would say. Load Me Up is still a concert staple. And yeah, it's just got some really dark material, some challenging material. Failing the Rorschach test always gives me chills. I miss New Wave. I didn't get that one when I was a kid, but that one's a highlight. Born to Kill is dark and foreboding. The Future's X-Rated is just, yeah, just cynical and kind of funny, and same with Jenny's song. And Giant is probably one of the most pounding, most impressive openers of all time. Just soaring, amazing. The drum track is one of my favorites of all time. The playing, the singing, everything about this just makes it a classic, and a Canadian classic, but it doesn't even matter that it's Canadian. It's just one of the best rock records of all time. And I can't really say enough good stuff about this one, and this is usually the one I'd recommend to anyone who's, you know, getting into the group. What are you doing over there? And yeah, so that's number 1. That fulfills the journey. Just as a bonus, I wanted to throw in, I didn't really want to put a live one in with it because I didn't really think that was fair. I would probably put this like second or third to last. It's a good recording, but you won't listen to it too much, and if you've seen them live, I think there are better shows. It's a good show, though. It's nice to have this. It's 2 discs. It's from the Hospital Music Tour, so can't be bad. And, I mean, the version of Black Helicopter off this is probably my favorite one. Yeah, Massey Hall, where a lot of incredible shows have gone down. 2008, 12 years ago. Yeah, so I don't listen to this one that much. So, and I really didn't want to include live material in with the studio stuff, but I thought I'd show it off. It'd be a show-off. And then the deluxe, I have cat hair all over me now, deluxe edition of In a Coma, which has 1 disc of greatest hits. I wish all bands would do this. 1 disc of greatest hits, 1 disc of acoustic work. Loser Anthems is included as a bonus because it was still hard to get at the time. That was really cool of him. And also Lo-Fi B-Sides is just tacked on to the end, which is also cool because I've never found a CD copy of that, like I said earlier. And then the last part, this was kind of the treat for me, is a DVD of the videos plus commentary. And I'm not a guy that likes music videos that much, but Matt Goodband made some really interesting videos, and just hearing the thoughts of Matt Good and his collaborator on the videos was really interesting. And I watched it actually many times, not just once. And with the commentary on, I would recommend, because it's fascinating and very self-deprecating. What are you up to over there? Okay. And then lastly is Old Fighters, which is a compilation record, which puts in band stuff with solo stuff with live stuff, and it's kind of a very odd record, and I only bought it to add it to the collection. Like, I had all these tracks already. So, oh, hold up one moment. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. And Fleetwood is being very bad. Come here. Ugh. He does not like when I make videos. Oh, there he is. He probably wants to bite me. But yeah, that's all I had to say is, yeah, just get out there, listen to Matt Good, and I have a lot of ideas for videos coming up, so hopefully time will allow. Hopefully we all get through this. It's just a rough time, and, you know, just try to focus on the best things in life, and, you know, stuff you love. Music and cats and family and all the rest of it. Yeah. Sorry for the little hiccup with the live stream thing going off. But, yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I have a lot of other plans, so, you know, hopefully time allows, and, yeah, more videos, more cats, more music, more reviews, and, I think that's all I got this time. Ciao for now, everyone.